Happy Sunday guys, welcome back. Today I have my sister-in-law to be, Krystal, back on the channel, and as you can see now she is a brunette. Just recently we did a tutorial on a daytime look for hooded eyes, and this one is going to be amping it up so it's a bit more of an evening look for hooded eyes. You may have noticed that I'm actually using some samples. It's because I ordered with Charlotte Tilbury and I need to get through the samples. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Serum. It's a water-based product, so it's great as a first step for priming your face. It means you can use it underneath moisturiser and your sunscreen. To give some hydration to Krystal's lips while we're applying the makeup, I'm going in with the Charlotte Tilbury Collagen Lip Bath. This is actually more like a gloss that you can apply after a lipstick, but it works really well at plumping your lips before you apply anything else. I'm aware that this almost feels a little bit Charlotte Tilbury heavy, but I promise you it's not going to be. Those were actually the samples I received when I ordered the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation, which is her new foundation, so I wanted to share it today. For me personally, I've just been popping it onto my skin using my fingers and it's beautiful, but today I'm going to use a brush on Krystal and I'm using my IT Cosmetics Heavenly Luxe Complexion Perfection brush. And then pressing that into the skin with a damp beauty blender. Now as you can see, it's really taken down the redness in Krystal's skin, but it's still very, very skin-like. You can't actually see the makeup sitting on the skin. However, it is a glowy foundation. It's not super glowy in natural daylight, but obviously in this studio lighting, it's definitely more reflective than it is, but it is glowy. To brighten the inner corner of Krystal's eyes, I'm taking the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Vanish, and this is a colour corrector. You get them in 4 different shades depending on your skin tone, and this is a really great way to brighten that inner area. As we age, this part tends to get a little bit darker, it tends to sink slightly, so it's a nice way to brighten before applying any concealer, especially if you have any blue or purple tones. Now I want this to be real makeup. I want it to be something that you guys would do at home, where you don't want to look like you're actually wearing makeup. You just want to look like a really nice healthy version of yourself. So for that reason I'm choosing the Waterweight Concealer by MAC. This is so beautiful because it gives you the coverage, but it literally looks like skin. It really lives up to the name. It is water weight. So this one I feel like you can take underneath the eyes and it doesn't look like anything sitting there. It really doesn't crease. And if you do get any kind of movement, it's so thin that you can just press it back into place with your finger. No one would notice. So just touching back on what I was saying about real makeup is that if you hired me as a makeup artist, I would go through a number of steps to make you look as flawless as possible for a special occasion. But this is talking about everyday makeup where you want to make an effort to look like a better version of yourself. So you might reach for more lightweight products rather than kind of heavier ones. Granted, you might still do less steps than I would, but the fact that Krystal only usually gives me 30 minutes notice before she has to get on the train, this is my version of quick makeup, and obviously this time we're trying to do a bit more of an evening look with the bronzy finish to the eyes. Now this is going to look relatively orange until we complete the face makeup, because I'm going to use the same bronzer to warm up the skin, so you're going to have to bear with me on the eye makeup to begin with because it's going to feel quite warm. So I'm taking the matte bronzer by NARS in the shade Laguna, and I'm using a blending brush to buff that from the eyelid up towards the socket line, and then buffing that just past the socket line so that it's visible when Krystal's eyes are open. I'm also going to pull the colour out ever so slightly towards the tail of the eyebrow. When you have hooded eyes, you can't always necessarily go up. It really depends on the space you've got between your lash line and your brow. So it's often important to create a lifted look by elongating the outer edge and making sure that eyeshadow goes up towards the tail of the brow. Always creating a lifted appearance, and then soften all of that off with a clean blending brush. Krystal getting into her stride as usual. Then I'm taking the iconic London Glaze Crayon in the shade Volcanic. You want to stretch the skin and start at the root of the eyelashes, working your way up towards the socket, but you also want to make sure this is visible once you relax the skin again. Going back to what I said about that lid space between your lash line and your brow, if you don't have a lot of space, you just need to make sure it's a little bit visible when your eyes are open. It doesn't have to be majorly visible. Just try not to completely close off that space with eyeshadow. Taking a flat brush, I've worked some of that cream eyeshadow onto the bristles, and I'm working that colour from the outer corner in a lifted effect towards the inner corner of the eye, making sure I still keep a little bit of space between the brow and the colour that's on the lid. But by rounding it off slightly in the centre, we're still going to be able to see that colour when the eye is open, but using a brush it's a little bit of a softer finish rather than going directly this high with the crayon itself. Because Krystal's eyes aren't huge, I am going to apply a little bit of the Rimmel ScandalEyes in Nude on the inner corner of the waterline, and then on the outer half I'm taking the classic brown pencil by Charlotte Tilbury. Any brown pencil would do. You can also use a gel eyeliner. I find it's a little bit softer with a pencil. Underneath the lower eyelash line, I'm taking that same Volcanic cream pencil on a small detailer brush and just buffing that underneath, so it's giving a bit more of a smoky frame to the eye, but because it's a cream eyeshadow and it's reflective, it's quite soft. On the opposite end of the Volcanic crayon is the Glaze, and I'm patting this on the mobile lid with the eyes shut, and it's really important to make sure that you completely fan these dry before you open your lids, because hooded eyes fold so much, there's a lot of warmth in there, they tend to make a lot of products crease. On the outer edge of the shadow, I'm applying a very light amount of the bronzer. Again, it's going to feel quite warm at this stage, but once we buff it out, it will be a little bit softer, but it's also going to tie in with the overall finish of the face. I'm using a very small blending brush for this, and as you can see, I'm starting on that outer edge and working it towards the middle of the eyelid before going in with a clean blending brush and then buffing that in so it's really, really subtle. Some people say there's not a lot of point in going to this effort if you have hooded eyes, because when you look up, a lot of the colour disappears. However, you don't realise that when you're looking around, all of that beautiful work is visible. It's just when you're looking directly at yourself in the mirror, you can't appreciate it. Here I'm just taking a small amount of the Bobbi Brown long wear gel eyeliner with a tiny amount of the Inglot Duraline to make it waterproof. I'm using that to tightline to diminish any pinky tones, which enables us to get a little bit more bronzy with the finish without going too heavy with a liquid liner on the top lash line. Instead, I'm using a brown pencil along the top lash line, which we're going to smudge out so it's a lot softer. The pencil shouldn't move or warm up too much because it's on top of products that have been sandwiched together, and those particular products are in thin layers and they are really durable products. The crayons and the glaze have got great staying power, and underneath that we've got a very light wash of matte bronzer. However, for added security, feel free to use a waterproof pencil. Here I'm going in and just making sure that we've got no visible seams. On the left eye on the outer corner, it looks as if Krystal's eye is slightly darker in this area, but actually when she turns to the side to do a mascara, you can actually see it's a dip in the eye structure rather than the actual eyeshadow itself. That's why it's really important to check your makeup in various lighting to make sure that it is blended well. The mascara Krystal used was the Maybelline Sky High Mascara. On the inner corner of the eyes, I'm taking this shade called Inner Corner from the Natasha Denona Glam Palette. However, any highlighter will do. You just really want to brighten this area. Having a highlight on the inner corner makes the eyes a bit more of a focal point. However, if you do have slightly wide set eyes, you may want to avoid a highlight in this area because it can make them look even wider. I'm also taking a small amount on the brow bone. Because this area can be quite small when you have hooded eyes, bringing a lot of light to this area can help make it look a bit bigger. I'm going to take some of the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Powder just on the actual forehead at the moment. I will work down the face, but at the moment I'm just doing the forehead so that I can go in with the bronzer. Again, because Krystal literally gave me 30 minutes to work, I actually forgot to put a primer on. Usually I would put a primer on just through her T-section where she's a little bit textured. So make sure you do that if you do have textured skin, because it will make the world of difference to your pores and any fine lines. If you do forget to prime and you find that your pores are a little bit of a issue or they're a little bit visible, this kind of powder is brilliant because it contains rose wax, which is a brilliant ingredient for blurring. It almost fills in at the same time as mattifying, so you can really go a little bit heavier in those areas. Just to remind you that the bronzer I'm using is the NARS Laguna bronzer, which is a matte finish, and I'm using this around the circumference of Krystal's face to warm up her skin. Because she now has that brunette chocolate finish to her hair, she can really go a little bit warmer with her skin, whereas when she was more of a platinum blonde, we tried not to go too heavy with the bronzer because it was quite stark in comparison to her hair. For blush, I'm taking the KVD Everlasting blush, which is also a matte finish, and the shade I'm using is Honeysuckle. I decided just to use the same brush again for ease. This is the Bobbi Brown Angled Face Brush, and I'm popping this on the high points of Krystal's cheekbones and just softly bringing it down, not putting it directly on the apples of the cheeks, but making sure to go in with my beauty blender just to press everything in so it looks more like it's one with the skin rather than sitting on top of the skin. Honestly, I cannot tell you how difficult it is to apply makeup to Krystal's face because she really is like this consistently. It takes a lot for her to concentrate. On the lips, I'm taking this Sunset Peach shade called Angel Alessandra by Charlotte Tilbury. And then I'm just finishing off with some setting spray, again by Charlotte Tilbury, I'm sorry. I know I said it wouldn't be Charlotte Tilbury heavy, but apparently it has been. It's because I bought some new stuff and it's sitting on my desk, I'm sorry. So I hope you love the finish. I just thought I would drag in crystals before again so that you can really see the difference. This is how I do a bronze smoky eye, which is more of an everyday smoky eye on hooded eyes. If you want to see a full-on glam smoky eye, let me know, because that's more of an evening look, whereas this is kind of daytime to evening. It's age appropriate for everybody, so yeah, I really love it. So as always, all the products I've used will be listed and linked in the description bar below. Don't forget you can follow myself and Krystal over on Instagram. Our social handles will be in the description bar for you. Please subscribe if you are new to my channel, and I will see you next week. Bye guys!